Thank you very much for patiently waiting. We are delayed by 25 minutes. We would like to start our session with a national anthem. So please raise for the national anthem. Not started? Okay, let's have our lovely voices for the national anthem. The music is yet to start. Okay? जन गण मन अधिनायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता पंजाब सिंध गुजरात मराठा द्राविड़ उत्कल बंगा विंध्य हिमाचल यमुना गंगा उच्चल जलधि तरंगा तव शुभ नामे जागे तव शुभ आशीष मांगे गाए तव जय गाथा जन गण मंगलदायक जय हे भारत भाग्य विधाता जय हे जय हे जय हे जय 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 हे. Thank you for your cooperation. Hi, I am Grishma Savla. I am from Integrated Spaces Limited, a BDA youth member. Quoting Warren Buffett, price is what you pay and value is what you get. I'm sure you all guys will agree to what I say next. As developers, we are mere dream catchers. Our projects are designed by the architects. The approvals are by the licensing architects at the mercy of the corporation. Our execution work is taken care by the contractors. The project packaging and sales is done by the channel partners. So who are we? We are project managers. But there's one thing that this entire program can collapse if there is no proper financial aid available. And yes, this is the first session of the day, which is all about finance. That's the lifeline of real estate. I welcome you all to the first session of BDA Conclave 2022, Session 3, Finance, the lifeline of real estate. The session is powered by FinRec. Before we start, I would like to introduce our first panelist, Bhavik Mehta. He is the founder of FinRec. He is a chartered accountant by qualification. He's worked with consulting firms and corporates like BDO, Deloitte, and has a good experience in handling MSME, mid-corporate, and corporate debt deals. He's also worked on private equity deals on various sectors. He's advised more than 200 companies till date, including real estate, infrastructure, and manufacturing. I call upon Mr. Bhavik Mehta to please come on stage and say a few words.
Good morning to one and all. Special thanks to BDA, its committee members, and all the organizers who have put lot of efforts day in and day out to make this event a successful event. So I'll give a short summary about my company and what work we do and how finance helps real estate developers in achieving their goals and completing their projects on time. So quickly, we are into real estate fundraising for last 12 years. Dedicatively, we are only into real estate advisory. In our team, there are chartered accountants, MBAs, and ex-bankers who are specialized in real estate funding. We do transactions from 10 crores to 300 crores. So from small project to medium project to large project. And we fund all kinds of projects, be it SRA, be it redevelopment, be it vacant plot, MADA, SIDCO layouts. And we work with all kinds of institutions, institutional funding, nationalized banks, private banks, NBFCs, housing finance companies, and private equity funds. Last year, we were appointed as a sole or exclusive financial advisor for BDA for the benefit of all the BDA members. And till date, last few years, we have crossed a milestone of more than 5,000 crores funds arranged for various developers. So when I go and meet a developer, they ask me, मेरे को पैसा क्यों चाहिए? Why construction finance is needed? मेरा माल तो बिक ही रहा है, मैं अपना पैसा रेस कर सकता हूँ. So why should I raise construction finance? So I think these are the points that we tell any real estate developer कि पैसा क्यों लेना चाहिए. The first and the foremost is financial closure. Any project real estate developer start कर देता है, it's very important कि उसका financial closure complete हो जाए. अगर day one पे financial closure complete हो जाता है, तो he gets the peace of mind. Because of any reason, we have seen last few years, RERA, GST, demonetization, ILFS crisis, नया UDCPR, because of all these issues, projects have been delayed. So if your financial closure is done, अगर आप कोई institutional से funding ले लेते हो, तो you have the peace of mind कि आपका project कभी रुकना नहीं है. हम लोग हर बार ये बोलते हैं कि आपका पेट्रोल टैंक ऑलवेज फुल होना चाहिए और बंदूक में गोली भरा हुआ होना चाहिए. सो कंस्ट्रक्शन फाइनेंस हेल्प्स यू कि आपका प्रोजेक्ट कभी भी रुकता नहीं है, अटकता नहीं है. सेकेंड, इट इंप्रूव्स योर ट्रैक रिकॉर्ड. बहुत सारे डेवलपर्स ने आज तक फंडिंग नहीं लिया है, 20 साल से 30 साल से फंडिंग कर रहे हैं, बट दे हैव नेवर अवेल्ड इंस्टीट्यूशनल फाइनेंस. फ्रॉम देयर साइड इट्स अ गुड पॉइंट कि आज तक पैसा नहीं लिया और बिना पैसा लेके फंडिंग किया है. बट फ्रॉम द बैंकर्स एंगल द फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन कम्स कि अगर इसको मैं पैसा दूंगा तो व्हाट इज द ट्रैक रिकॉर्ड. उसने पहले छोटा लोन लेके वापस दे दिया है, नहीं दिया है. सो इट बिल्ड्स योर ट्रैक रिकॉर्ड. आप जब भी लोन लेते हो, यू कैन डू रिपीट ट्रांजैक्शंस एंड एवरी ट्रांजैक्शन कैन बी फंडेड बाय अ इंस्टीट्यूशन. थिर्डली, डेवलपर ये बोलता है कि मैं तो मेरा माल बेच दूंगा, मेरे को पैसे का क्या जरूरत है. सो बहुत बार ये होता है कि दे डू डिस्ट्रेस डील्स, वो इन्वेंट्री सस्ते में बेच देता है. If you take institutional funding, you are not required to sell your inventory at a discount. You can reasonably build the price. This works as an insurance policy. I always say कि fund raise करने का जो भी cost है, it's like a insurance premium. It's a one-time cost, but you get the peace of mind. अगर आपका खुद का पैसा आप लगा के प्रोजेक्ट कंप्लीट करते हो या तो माल बेच के आप प्रोजेक्ट कंप्लीट करते हो, आपको बैंक का पैसा जितना लेना है उतना ही आप लेके उसी के ऊपर आप ब्याज भरने वाले हो. ऑल्दो आप सैंक्शन जो है वो मान लो 100 करोड़ का ले लो, बट आपको प्रोजेक्ट में 20 करोड़ ही जरूरत पड़ा तो आप 20 करोड़ यूज करो, बट आपको एक पीस ऑफ माइंड रहता है कि मेरा प्रोजेक्ट कभी भी स्टक नहीं होगा बिकॉज ऑफ मनी. कस्टमर्स जब भी इन्वेंट्री लेते हैं, कोई भी प्रोजेक्ट के अंदर घर लेते हैं, सो कस्टमर ये देखता है कि ये बिल्डर प्रोजेक्ट कंप्लीट कर पाएगा या नहीं कर पाएगा. सो वो केस के अंदर अगर कोई वो प्रोजेक्ट कोई इंस्टीट्यूशन ने फंड किया है तो कस्टमर को भी ये मालूम है कि ये प्रोजेक्ट तो बनना ही है. सो आई कैन टेक द इन्वेंट्री इवन एट अ इनिशियल स्टेज और द अर्ली स्टेज. बहुत सारे डेवलपर ये बोलते हैं कि मैं अनसिक्योर्ड लोन ले लेता हूं, मैं समाज से पैसा ले लेता हूं, मेरे को तो 10% में मिलता है, मेरे को 12% में मिलता है, तो मेरे को इंस्टीट्यूशनल फंडिंग लेने का जरूरत क्या है. तो हम लोग ये बोलते हैं इट्स अ सिंगल इंस्टीट्यूशन हु कैन गिव यू अ लार्ज क्वांटम. अगर कोई आप रिटेल इन्वेस्टर से पैसा लोगे तो शायद आपको 1 करोड़ देगा, 2 करोड़ देगा, 5 करोड़ देगा, उसका एक लिमिट है. ये सिंगल इंस्टीट्यूशन आपका प्रोजेक्ट 50 करोड़ 100 करोड़ जितना भी आपका रिक्वायरमेंट है, आपको एक ही आदमी से डील करना है और एक ही इंस्टीट्यूशन से डील करना है. आपका प्रोजेक्ट फास्ट कंप्लीट होता है, बिकॉज ऑफ एनी रीजन आपका प्रोजेक्ट कभी भी अटकता नहीं है. और आपके प्रोजेक्ट में फाइनेंशियल डिसिप्लिन आता है. आपको बैंकर पैसा डाइवर्ट करने के लिए नहीं देता है. बैंकर स्ट्रिक्टली आपका प्रोजेक्ट मॉनिटरिंग करता है, उससे कभी भी आपका एक प्रोजेक्ट का पैसा आप निकाल के दूसरे प्रोजेक्ट में आप डालते नहीं हो. So these are the benefits why you should raise construction finance. Second question is, why do real estate developers need an advisor? So we always say that an advisor works as a one-stop solution. आपको हर institution से advisor, because they are in touch with the institution, they know their norms, तो वो उसका policies, procedures, they know in and out. That is the reason we always suggest that you should keep an advisor, because if you are dealing with the institutions, if there is a mediator or there is an advisor, they can add value to the project. They can advise you कि आप कौन से institution आपको पैसा देगा, कौन से स्टेज पे देगा, और आपको क्या क्या तैयारी करना है इंस्टीट्यूशन को अप्रोच करने के पहले, और जो पूरा प्रोसेस है स्टार्ट टू एंड, बिकॉज द एडवाइजर नोज द पेपर वर्क और द पॉलिसी ऑफ द इंस्टीट्यूशन, इट हेल्प्स यू एंड योर टीम ऑल्सो टू रेज द फाइनेंस. And definitely there will be savings in financial cost. If you are appointing an advisor, he will pick and choose a good institution which will be favorable for you, and you will be able to save your interest costs. So these are the few marquee deals that we have done, which I would like to talk about. काफ़ी सारे डेवलपर्स ये पूछते हैं कि मेरा तो रीडेवलपमेंट प्रोजेक्ट है, लैंड तो मेरा ओन नहीं है, तो मेरे को पैसा कैसे मिलेगा. सो द आइडिया इज वी फंड रीडेवलपमेंट प्रोजेक्ट्स वेयर द लैंड इज नॉट owned by the developer, it is owned by the society. Plainly, just taking the development rights as a security and taking the security of the developer share of flats, we fund to real estate projects without collateral. Secondly, SRA projects. Lot of institutions, they are comfortable funding SRA projects where the rehab portion is delivered. We have funded 2 SRA projects even where the rehab portion is under construction. We have funded 2 stress projects. अटके हुए project को we have bailed out and we have arranged finance. So the developer also benefits out of that. Recently we have funded a project where they wanted money for the first IOD. So we have funded real estate redevelopment project where they wanted money for the first IOD. Recently one landmark transaction we have done. Construction finance के आपको rates पता ही होंगे market के अंदर क्या है. We've got one construction funding at a phenomenal rate of interest of 9.15% for one of our clients. We also arrange overdraft facility. It benefits to the real estate developer कि आपका sales का जो भी पैसा आता है, अगर आपको उसको पार्क करना है तो आप current account में डालोगे तो you are going to lose the interest. So we arrange overdraft facility where you can save your finance cost and your rate of interest. And lastly, we also do commercial project funding other than residential project. So this is the short background about my company and the work that we do. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Bhavik Mehta. Am I audible? Yeah. He's very well said that you need why do you need an advisor? Because the advisor will do the entire homework for you on your behalf and then give you the advice. So you are not wasting your time running around to different lenders, different bankers, just with your profile, so that they can validate whether your project, your company is eligible for funding or no. So you need an advisor. Why this session is called as a lifeline of real estate, it's very important to know. As a redevelopers, we all understand that redevelopment funding is not very much accepted in acceptable mode of funding for the lenders. Why? Because you do not have anything to mortgage, right? And most of the BDA members are engaged into redevelopment projects. So that's why we wanted to give this session to our members so that we can add value in their business. At the same time, also try and educate them so that they can build a financial organization such that a financial discipline is set in place. Okay. Starting the session today, I am pleased to welcome our moderator, the young, the dynamic, Shobhit Agarwal, MD, CEO, Anarock Capital Advisors. Sir, you are really young. Shobhit is a visionary entrepreneur with professional excellence and experience of over 20 years in real estate. Thank you for moderating this event. Thank you very much. I'm also pleased to welcome our panelists for these sessions. The first panelist is Mr. Vaibhav Agarwal. He is a chartered accountant by qualification. He has spent over two decades in financial advice sector and over 10 years in real estate sector. He is currently the Chief Credit Officer of Construction Finance at Tata Capital Housing Finance Limited. Sir, it would be amazing to know back of the scene scenario when you look for funding projects. Please come on the stage. Our second panelist, Mr. Dushyant Podar, Business Head Developer Finance, Bajaj Finance, a CA and an MBA from a famed IIM Indore. He has been a banker for over 2.5 decades now and heads the developer finance business at Bajaj Housing Finance Limited, which is present in 13 cities pan-India and has funded over 500 projects. Thank you, sir, for coming and enlightening our session. Our third panelist is going to be Mr. Bhushan Nemlekar, Director Sumit Woods Limited. He is very humble and a calm person. An alumnus from a prestigious Harvard Business School, and he is the second generation leader at Sumit Woods Limited. He has been involved with strategy and business expansion since 2 decades and has been instrumental in making Sumit Wood a NSE listed entity 2018. Please welcome, sir. And a proud BDA member. Our fourth panelist is Mr. Vishal Ratanghaira, founder and CEO of Platinum Corp. Mr. Vishal is a very dynamic and energetic person and a proud BDA member. He is a founder and a CEO of Platinum Corp. He is a qualified architect. He has been in real estate industry for more than 17 years and possesses a unique combination of professional and entrepreneurial skills. He has been involved with large real estate developers and corporate groups, both as a professional as well as an entrepreneur. Sir, please come on the stage. We would like Mr. Bhavik Mehta also to join the panel and please share some lights on how an advisor thinks and what a lender thinks and how the developer is going to seize his project. Thank you very much. Over to you, Mr. Shobhit.
Thank you, Grishma. I'm really pleased that you were moderating this and you didn't call a professional because you understand the needs of a developer. Normally somebody else will come and just speak out very plain and simple resumes. So thank you very much. Thank you BDA, thank you FinRec, and all the sponsors for having us here. I'm really pleased to be moderating this, and the panel is very astute. We have developers, listed, unlisted. We have bankers, both Tata and Bajaj. You couldn't ask for better names. And today, as these guys have mentioned, lifeline of real estate projects, right? So I'm just wondering whether money is the lifeline or sales is the lifeline. But anyways, we'll talk about how critical it is to have financial closure as Bhavin had mentioned in the first point, and I was sitting there listening. Actually, he listed out 10 points, so he's made it quite easy, and he's already answered a lot of the questions. But thank you very much for making it very concise and precise. So I'll start first with you only, saying since you've done so much work recently, right? What is your one advice, only one advice, out of so many that you said, ki why he should be borrowing, right? Why should you be borrowing at a time you don't need the money, right? It is very different for somebody who's in need of money. You also mentioned stressed asset, but which is better? When you are stressed, you borrow, or you borrow when you're not stressed? That's the first question I have for you. It'll work. They'll switch it off. Yeah.
So regarding your question, whether to borrow when you don't need the money or to borrow when you become stressed, the answer is obviously when you don't need the money, that time you should borrow, because the financial closure of the project is complete. Last 2 years, हम लोग देख रहे थे कि because of COVID, lot of projects, approvals became haywire. In that scenario, what happens is then developer starts struggling कि मैं क्या करूं, पैसा कहां से रेस करूं. लेकिन अगर आपका पहले से फाइनेंशियल क्लोजर हो गया है, तो एक फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशन आपके साथ है एज योर पार्टनर, तो आपके अच्छे और बुरे टाइम में दैट फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशन विल गाइड यू एंड विल ऑलवेज इंश्योर कि आपका फाइनेंशियल डिसिप्लिन है, बिकॉज दे मॉनिटर द प्रोजेक्ट. एंड हर एक प्रोजेक्ट में उतार चढ़ाव आते हैं, कभी आपका माल अच्छा बिक जाता है, कभी नहीं बिकता है. तो वो केस में अगर आपके पास इंस्टीट्यूशन है, तो एज वी ऑलवेज से कि बंदूक में गोली भरा हुआ होना चाहिए, पेट्रोल टैंक फुल होना चाहिए. सो रियल एस्टेट मार्केट एक ऐसा है ना कि वो कभी भी ऐसा स्ट्रेट लाइन नहीं है, इट्स ऑलवेज लाइक अ हार्ट बीट. सो ड्यूरिंग योर डाउन टाइम्स, इफ यू हैव द मनी विथ यू, इट ऑलवेज हेल्प्स. सेकेंडली, स्ट्रेस्ड, एक बार अगर डेवलपर स्ट्रेस हो जाता है, वो टाइम पे पैसा लेने को जाएगा, तो वो टाइम पे लॉट ऑफ इश्यूज ही इज गोइंग टू फेस. बिकॉज एक लेंडर क्या करता है, मार्केट फीडबैक निकालता है कि ये डेवलपर कैसा है, कैसा बिहेव कर रहा है, उसके प्रोजेक्ट्स कैसे चल रहे हैं. तो एक हवा फैल जाती है कि ये डेवलपर स्ट्रगल कर रहा है या उसके प्रोजेक्ट्स बंद है या काम नहीं चालू है. तो वो स्टेज पे उसको पैसा मिलना मुश्किल हो जाता है, और अगर मिलेगा तो भी उसको बहुत हाई कॉस्ट पे मिलेगा. सो दैट इज ऑलवेज, इट इज़ लाइक एज आई टोल्ड यू, इट्स लाइक अ इंश्योरेंस पॉलिसी. आप पहले ही फंडिंग करके ले लो और आप सिक्योर करके ले लो आपका प्रोजेक्ट.
Thank you for that. I don't know, it's quite strange as a plan नहीं किया था, but all the money is sitting on my right and all the borrowers are sitting on the left. So ये कोई, this was not a planned thing. But Dushyant, over to you. Really want to ask you two questions. One is the continuity of what I asked Bhavin, saying when is the right time to borrow? आपको कब पैसा लेना चाहिए और क्यों लेना चाहिए? And second, as your own company Bajaj, what do you look at the top 2-3 things to lend when these guys approach for money?
Okay, so let me answer that question to you, Shobit. I believe that the money should be taken at the launch of the project and financial closure should be done. So you don't need to draw down the entire money if your project goes well. Like today, Bhushan Bhai was telling me his project is going very well and he will not be needing all the money. Good. Bad for us, good for him. But the financial closure should be obtained. And I fully agree with Bhavik that it should be before you develop a scenario that is coming out to be stressed. Secondly, regarding what are the top 2-3 things we look, obviously the track record of the developer, both in terms of borrowing and in terms of execution, the quality of the project, and overall what is the kind of tenure amount that he's looking for. Nothing that great, no rocket science about it. These are the same things that other institutions look, and we look at the same thing. That's all.
Thank you. Vaibhav, quickly with you before I move to the developer side.
So I agree with Dushyant. See, ours is a cyclical industry. आज चढ़ाव है, कल उतार आएगा. ऐसा कभी नहीं हुआ कि मार्केट हमेशा ऊपर ही रहा है. आज बोरो करोगे, कल अगर उतार आ भी गया तो आपके पास में फाइनेंशियल क्लोजर है प्रोजेक्ट को कंप्लीट करके डिलीवर करने का. आपकी पोजीशन ज़्यादा बेटर होगी इफ़ यू हैव फाइनेंशियल क्लोजर इन गुड टाइम्स. बैड टाइम्स में हो सकता है लेंडर्स लेंड कर रहे हो, नहीं कर रहे हो, नए बोरोवर्स को ऑनबोर्ड करें, नहीं करें, बहुत सारे फैक्टर्स हैं जो उसको इम्पैक्ट करेंगे. लेकिन गुड टाइम्स में अगर आपने फाइनेंशियल क्लोजर करा हुआ है तो वी नो यू, यू नो अस, हाउ थिंग्स वर्क एंड you know how you can ensure that your project reaches closure in a better faster manner. हो सकता है कि फाइनेंशियल क्लोजर होने की वजह से आपका जो स्ट्रेस टाइम आने वाला था वो शायद ना भी आए, बिकॉज एट द एंड ऑफ द डे आप अटकते सिर्फ पैसे के लिए हो. सो फाइनेंशियल क्लोजर अगर प्लेस में है तो यू माइट जस्ट नॉट हैव दैट फाइनेंशियल स्ट्रेस एट दैट पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम.
Thank you. I want to highlight one thing. जो I've been now 22 years. When I met one of the listed developers who got recently listed in 2002, he had zero borrowings. He had never gone to the bank. He had never borrowed money. And the first time he was borrowing for any project, you can guess the amount. In 2005, ICICI provided that loan was only 5 crore rupees. Just 5 crores. Today he is listed, market cap is 60,000 crores plus. So you can imagine the 20 years growth that one has had. And I have a pleasure of having somebody right next to me, Sumit Group, who's actually listed himself, right? So just look at his growth in 10 years, and I'm going to request him to share his experience on being unlisted to borrowing first and then eventually deciding to list. That's like the ultimate, where you're saying, I will raise equity from a marketplace in the stock market. So can I just request you to speak for 5 minutes on your experience and journey from being unlisted and now, being where you are. Over to you.
Thank you, Shobit. The example that you have given, I think, of Oberoi Reality, if I am not wrong. So we all are here to become a listed because we are a family business for last 3 decades, and we have a partnership which is going on for more than 37 years. So we have recently completed 37 years of business. So we always used to feel कि earlier, as Bhavik said, HNI से लोग पैसा उठाते थे, business करते थे, investors होते थे. Then slowly once we realize कि ये cost of, because उसमें हमारा पूरा profit investor ही लेके जाते थे. We used to be a contractor rather than a developer. So then we realized कि banking channel we should explore. Initial explore हमने banking channel किया. In 12-13 we started borrowing 10 crores, 15 crores for our project. Earlier land financing used to happen and at a very high cost, 20% plus cost. Then we came into construction finance, and Bajaj was very supportive to us that day. I should thank Bajaj for that. They gave us the funding. In 2017, we realized कि when we used to see stock markets कि everybody is raising funds. Real estate में से क्यों fund raise नहीं हो रहे या क्या है? So the first thing people look is the trust and the transparency. If you have trust, we have delivered more than 6,000 apartments. So trust is there, no RERA complaints. Then, because being a partnership, we always had a transparent books of accounts. So we were always happy to share that books of accounts. And as a developer, as a fellow developer, I always tell we have to go to more public. Real estate is seen. Lot of industries are not able to see. Pharmaceutical, we don't know what's going on inside, and the valuation is 50,000 crores. But real estate, you can actually physically see. जो देख सकते हैं तो वो बिक भी सकता है. So that was the first step. जब हमने सोचा कि real estate, and I have to thank my partner Bitaram ji and my father कि from a traditional background कि हम professional थोड़ा बनते हैं, listing होते हैं, and I'm happy to say that we were 7 times oversubscribed. We on the SME platform we went. We raised 25 crores of equity. The day we listed, next day Island FS happened. And then all our investors were there. But that's a different part. You have to be very financial discipline. I have to thank my finance team. Every quarter we have to give numbers. We have to keep records up to date. So that has inculcated a financial culture, discipline, and that has helped me to raise more funds from the banks, because anything that banks want, any documentation they want, it is ready with my team. I don't have to wait for 4 days and 5 days. So that became a plus point for us. The cost of borrowing went down. Being a triple B rated company, the cost of borrowings with SBI we are at 10%, with ICICI we are at 11%, and with NBFCs we are around at 12%. So that cost of borrowing also, even 1 basis point or 2 basis point over a year, where your exposure is more than 150 crores, it makes a big saving for the company, and that's the profit. Because right now real estate is making in 10-15% margins from a developer's point of view. तो जितना आप फास्ट डेवलप करोगे, प्रोजेक्ट कंप्लीट कर पाओगे, तो वो उसका, और जो सेविंग कर पाओगे वही आपका अर्निंग है. सो आई वुड टेल ऑल माय फेलो डेवलपर्स, it's a unknown territory being listed, but I think everybody should try, and that's the future going to be. Even the lenders or maybe will be more happy, if they are more satisfied to lend a listed entity than a normal unlisted entity. So that is what my take is. So thank you, Shubh.
Thank you, Bhushan bhai. Very, very simple and very straightforward narration. ये लोग जनरली कोई स्टेज पे बोलता नहीं है, बट मैंने आई हैव 2 थिंग्स दैट आई टुक अवे. वन ही सेड कि मेरे को मेरी कंपनी का फाइनेंस टीम के थ्रू डैशबोर्ड मिलता है कि आज की क्या पोजीशन है, रोज आता है, बिकॉज इट्स मैंडेटरी फॉर हिम, ही हैज़ टू रिपोर्ट इट एवरी क्वार्टर. उसकी ट्रिपल बी कंपनी रेटेड है तो रेटिंग वालों को देना पड़ता है. तो यू आर फोर्स टू लुक एट द डैशबोर्ड. कितने लोग यहाँ पे ऐसे हैं जिनको मुँह जवानी याद होगा बट रिटन में कुछ भी नहीं है, right? So it is very important that you grow that team, that strength within your own organization. Second, he said very important thing again is कि cost of borrowing बहुत कम है. I have 2 champions sitting next to me. 10, 11, 12% सबको नहीं देते हैं ये लोग, right? So you are obviously you have to do a lot of tick mark कि delivery ठीक है, sales ठीक है, finance team अच्छी है, MIS है, governance है. Then they will give you 10, 11, 12. Otherwise they're not giving you 10, 11, 12%. And lastly, I want to just make this connection. I think Bajaj identified him as the first time borrower. And from there, he's reached here. I'm sure there are more cases in your books where you did lending for the first time to a new borrower, and today they have become big. If you can name some of them, it'll be really nice.
Can't remember. There are so many of them. But overall, I think Sumit bhai was our first client also. So he was a first borrower, but he was our first client. And I think after that we've lost count of the number of projects we funded for him.
More than 10.
More than 10, yeah. And probably hopefully cross in the next few years it'll be 20, 30 and so on. I think one of the biggest advantages of listing is also consolidation of all projects in one legal entity. Rather than the SPV level and the partnerships, different partners come in for different projects because of this equity requirement, which once you list yourself is not there.
Yeah, you are saying book building is very important. एक book होती है, उसी पे
and because public is giving you money, you don't need different partners for different projects.
Super. Well done.
So that I think consolidates it and gives the institution the confidence to lend also.
Since I'm playing this jugalbandi between two of you, I think आपको याद नहीं होगा, पर इनसे पूछना चाहूँगा, what was the sanction amount for the first loan?
20 crores, I remember.
Interest.
20.
Interest.
Interest was always for him, I think, this is 2015 में, I think some 12-13%.
And now?
उससे अभी कमती है, अभी याद नहीं है मेरे को, I think वो ज़्यादा होगा, but.
So last sanction is more than 45 crores. So total exposure is more than 75 crores now. And I am happy to tell that they are ready to take more exposure.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And this is the great jugalbandi, right? The borrower is sitting saying मेरे को और चाहिए, and lender is saying मैं देने को तैयार हूँ. This is great, right?
We've never told no to him.
Yeah, so absolutely fantastic. And this is an experience that you can see in your front of your eyes that these both people have grown and very happily growing together. Weber, just before I move to the next developer, give a few examples of first time borrowers from your desk and how big they have become? Matlab, let's say I named one guy saying 5 crore दिया था, आज I don't want to name his book कि कितना पैसा borrow किया हुआ है, right? I know so many of them. I'm almost tempted to name these builders कि 1 crore 2 crore लिए थे first time. आज कहाँ पहुँच गए हैं?
So, you know, I think there are many such examples. But the biggest one that I recall was a developer from Nagpur. He had borrowed 50,000 rupees from us way back in 2003. And today he is one of the top 3 developers of Nagpur.
Now, how much is your exposure there? Or his exposure in general?
I think his exposure to the
Banks.
To the banking sector would be now easily about 150 crore plus.
So,
and for
50,000
Nagpur,
से
that is
चालू
a
किया.
big number.
50,000 से चालू किया, आज 150 crore banks are willing to lend. It need not be all Tata Capital, but all his exposure to bank is 150 crores in a city like Nagpur, right?
So
beautiful.
what I take pride in saying is not that, you know, I discovered him. Maybe, you know, there would be another financial institution, किसी और banker ने भी उनमें वही spark देखा था, because हम सब की analysis, हम जो चीज़ एक developer या project में देखते हैं वो almost similar same होती है. But जो partner की growth होती है वो आप over the years देख के आपको भी खुशी मिलती है that he is successful, वो successfully projects deliver करे चला जा रहा है. He has grown his enterprise and delivered so much of value to the city and the end user of the product. वो बहुत critical है. It is not merely a number game. जो satisfaction जिसका पहला घर होता है उसको उस घर की delivery मिलने पे देता है, that is unparalleled.
Thank you. I now want to bring in Vishal. I have a special place for him and his group. Vishal and Gurminder are known to me, especially Gurminder. He's worked, we have studied together. He was my junior. He's worked in the same company, same as me. He was working with us in 2004 and then started his own development company in 2010. So it's a very new company, and look at where he's come. I'm delighted that he's the sponsor for this event. And I really want to ask him one question, Vishal, कि 2010 से start किया या 9 से, I don't know the exact year, to now, how have you moved, especially with regards to financing? कि आपने खुद का पैसा डाला, फिर क्या हुआ, how have you grown your company to the scale that today you are the platinum sponsor, title sponsor for this event?
Thank you, Shobit. तो जैसा आपने बताया शोभित, गुरमिंदर एंड मी, वी बोथ आर एक्चुअली रियल एस्टेट प्रोफेशनल्स. ही इज़ एन अर्बन प्लानर लाइक यू एंड आई एम एन आर्किटेक्ट. सो हम लोगों ने हमारा करियर रियल एस्टेट में 2002 से मिस्टर नयन शाह की कंपनी में मेफेयर हाउसिंग से शुरुआत की. एंड 7-8 साल वी वर्कड एज रियल एस्टेट प्रोफेशनल्स, जॉब किया. एंड इन 2010-11 मौका मिला खुद का एक प्रोजेक्ट किसी के साथ करने का. एंड वहाँ पर लैंड हमें दी हुई थी. देयर वाज नो कैपिटल रिक्वायरमेंट फॉर द लैंड. इट वाज लाइक अ जॉइंट वेंचर. वी डिडंट हैव अ लॉट ऑफ कैपिटल बिकॉज वी had graduated to entrepreneurs after being professionals for many years. और जब उन्होंने मौका दिया लैंड डेवलप करने का, दे वर एक्चुअली प्लानिंग टू सेल द लैंड, और हम उनको एडवाइस कर रहे थे कि आप बेचो मत, हम आपको यहाँ डेवलप करके देंगे. एंड दैट लैंड पार्सल दे वर वांटिंग टू सेल एट अबाउट 30 crores. प्रोजेक्ट ख़त्म होते होते वी वर एबल टू मेक मोर देन 100 crores फॉर देम. एंड वहाँ से जर्नी शुरू हुई. अब उस पर्टिकुलर ग्रुप के साथ और कोई स्कोप बहुत ज़्यादा नहीं था. सो देन दी ओनली वे फॉर अस टू ग्रो आवर सेल्फ वॉज टू गेट इन टू रीडेवलपमेंट. एंड रीडेवलपमेंट इसलिए कि शुरुआत में कम कैपिटल लगे. बट व्हेन वी स्टार्टेड टेकिंग अप रीडेवलपमेंट प्रोजेक्ट्स, कोइंसिडेंटली एक साथ 3-4 प्रोजेक्ट्स आ गए. एंड वी रियलाइज्ड कि अब हमारे पास कैपिटल नहीं है ये प्रोजेक्ट्स करने का. सो देन वी स्टार्टेड लुकिंग आउट एंड अप्रोचिंग फाइनेंशियल इंस्टीट्यूशंस. उस वक्त जैसे इनको बजाज फाइनेंस ने सपोर्ट किया, ईडलवाइज ने हमें सपोर्ट किया. एंड The first transaction itself was 60 crore rupees, which Edelweiss bet on us. That relationship grew all the way to 185 crores in a span of 4 years. They funded number of our projects. The capital was little expensive to begin with, but फिर भी हमने किया. भूषण भाई 10-11% की बात कर रहे हैं. उन दिनों में हम लोगों ने 19% पे हम लोगों ने कैपिटल लिया and gave them a full complete exit with a huge return. Just last year in October, we were able to repay 185 crores back to Edelweiss. And now we have started working with a lot of other financial institutions, and cost of borrowing is of course coming down, but not as down as them because we are not listed. I'm not sure if that is the way forward for us, but भूषण भाई से सुन के इंस्पिरेशन बहुत मिल रहा है. शोभित आपसे थोड़ा सा सलाह मशवरा करना होगा फ्यूचर में क्या करना है.
These guys on my right are most in the right place to give you the advice. But I'm very happy to listen. And like I said, I've seen you guys grow. So मेरा इनसे ये कुछ सवाल करने का महत्व ये था कि we have to again talk about how critical banking and financing is for all of you guys to grow. There is no question कि मैं आज borrow नहीं करता हूँ. It's not a great idea. I meet a lot of people who say कि मैंने borrow नहीं किया, सारा खुद का पैसा लगा हुआ है. It's not the best thing to do. I think your cost of equity is much higher. तो borrow करेंगे तो आपका return भी बढ़ेगा, आपका track record भी बढ़ेगा, and then one day you grow from 5,000 crores to a 50,000 crore rupee company, like I've mentioned somebody who did it, right? And this is first generation. Sir is 3 generation. He's 10 years in business, but both are sitting and sharing the same dais because they now deserve it very well, right? They have come here on their very much on their own. One has listed the company, one has grown it from 0 to whatever size he's grown, but it cannot happen without the involvement on people on my right, right? And therefore this title saying Lifeline of real estate is absolutely appropriate for this, saying कि ज़रूर होना चाहिए, right? I just want to ask Vaibhav, Vaibhav, you've done redevelopment financing as well, whereas I know Bajaj does a little bit cleaner deals, but I'll talk about what you can also do so that the audience benefits on whether you can, how to approach it, a little bit of advice on financing side for the larger audience.
So, see, in Bombay, the number of freehold lands is very less. What we get mostly is redevelopment and also SRA projects. आप लोगों को जान के बड़ी अचरज होगी कि अब रीडेवलपमेंट पूना और अहमदाबाद में भी एक्टिव हो रहा है. इनफैक्ट गवर्नमेंट बहुत सपोर्टिव है इन दोनों शहरों में भी फॉर रीडेवलपमेंट्स. फॉर अस रीडेवलपमेंट इज़ लाइक all other projects. We look at it in the same spirit as any other type of funding that we do. Because essentially आपने जब पहला फ्लैट बेचा उसके बाद में तो थर्ड पार्टी राइट्स क्रिएट होते चले गए. तो ऑल ऑफ अस आर इन इट टुगेदर. उसमें डेवलपर भी है जो एग्जिस्टिंग सोसाइटी या एग्जिस्टिंग लैंड ओनर वो भी हैं, फाइनेंसर भी है और गवर्नमेंट भी इन्वॉल्व है क्योंकि गवर्नमेंट ने भी अपने प्रीमियम्स लेके अप्रूवल्स दे दिए हैं. So we look at it like any other project in it. दूसरा जो हम चीज़ देखते हैं वो एक बार ज़मीन पे कुछ भी क्रिएट कर दिया आपने, उसके बाद में ज़मीन तो बची नहीं क्योंकि आपने कंस्ट्रक्शन चालू कर दिया है. सो उस पूरी ज़मीन की वैल्यू तभी निकल के आएगी जब बिल्डिंग कंप्लीट होगी.
Thank you. That's very helpful. Dushyant, you want to talk about?
Well, basically, in redevelopment, if we enter in the initial stages, we do require some additional collateral, which is negotiable. But what happens is that if today we have repeat developers, we normally take one of the earlier projects and just keep it on the books just in case kuch happens. But other than that, we follow the same guidelines as other institutions do. We fund approvals, we fund construction costs, we fund overall costs. And that's how we go about it and pretty much treat it as a normal, either a JDA project or own land project. There's no difference there. The only difference is that we do require some additional collateral until a little bit of action has taken place, till say such 25-30% stages come up, and then we are happy to release it. We find that, you know, many developers are okay, they give us some inventory left over in the earlier project or some land or some collateral. So it's normally not a problem, and we work along with it. We realize in Bombay, if you're not doing redevelopment, you're basically out of the market. Then you either operate in the suburbs or in Navi Mumbai. But we can't vacate Bombay, it's too large a market. So we do find some compromise with people.
Yeah, you're saying between the two of you, there are solutions, different solutions to the same approach.
Absolutely.
There are solutions for the same thing. So redevelopment can be banked, and I've got Bhavin, of course, he can also speak about it. With or without collateral, every situation is different. So there's no right or wrong. Both type of deals are available. Before I hand it back to Bhavin, I'm going to let him think for 1 second. Since he does a lot of financing, I'm going to allow him to ask few questions. I don't have a question for him. Let him think about that question, and by that time, I have one last question to ask Bhushan Bhai, saying, आपने पैसे borrow किए थे pre-COVID. How did it fare with you during COVID? Did you have stress? Could you pay it back? आपके customers को उससे क्या benefit मिला? Means, did you stop construction? What happened to your projects during COVID? Because Bhavin in the beginning said financial closure is very important. और उसका एक benefit ये बताया कि doesn't matter what sales are happening, आप construction complete करोगे. So how did your projects behave?
So COVID was a surprise for everybody, and when the first COVID happened, as in our organization we always have a plan A, plan B. So without financial closure we don't start a project. And COVID happened, everything stopped for a few months, no sales, zero sales happening, construction work stopped. But because the lenders were with us, ICICI Bank, Bajaj, that time SBI, and then after 3 months RBI came up with some policy where they could, so the stress was not there. Sales were a little slow, and all the lenders supported us, knowing that this is a tough time in the market, and they supported us, and we were able to start the project the day the lockdown opened. So that was the key. If the cash flow and the management would have been not there, we could have not have started the project. June, July, whenever the lockdown little relaxed, we immediately started the projects, and all those projects are still on track, and there has been no RERA extension or nothing for the project because of the financial closure that we had. So that helped us to do more sales, and now people see and the sales have come back after the government announcement. Thank you.
So what do you, Bhavin? One question, and then I'll request Krishna to open it to audience. Since we have such large and astute panelists, if there's any questions from the audience, we'll be happy to take 2-3 questions after.
So I think I'll ask one very interesting question which is always there in developer's mind. जब भी कोई भी डेवलपर को मिलता हूँ, वो बोलता है रियल एस्टेट को ब्याज महंगा क्यों है, हमको 13, 14, 15, 16% पे क्यों पैसा मिल रहा है. मैन्युफैक्चरिंग वाले को 60% पे मिलता है, 7.5% पे मिलता है, और रियल एस्टेट के अंदर द सिक्योरिटी कवरेज रेशियो इज वेरी हाई. मैन्युफैक्चरिंग को कोई बैंकर फंड करता है तो उसका डेटर, वर्किंग कैपिटल या स्टॉक वगैरह जनरली रिकवरी में मिलता नहीं है. रियल एस्टेट के अंदर आप जब बिल्डिंग बनाते हो तो शायद उसका वैल्यू 2 गुना, 3 गुना, 4 गुना, 5 गुना सिक्योरिटी आप बैंकर को देते हो, फिर भी रेट ऑफ इंटरेस्ट हाई क्यों है. फॉर एग्जाम्पल इंस्टीट्यूशन जो पैसा रेस करते हैं, रिटेल डिपॉजिट्स या मे बी बैंक्स उनको पैसा देती है 6% पे, 7% पे, 8% पे, तो वाई दोज इंस्टीट्यूशंस आर ऑन लेंडिंग एट 13 to 15%. दिस इज द क्वेश्चन दैट रियल एस्टेट लॉबी ऑलवेज आस्क अस. If both the
Yeah, I think this is question for the banker. So Dushyant, you go, and then Weber.
Okay, I'm going to tell you. When we lend to a manufacturing industry, there is a running income already. It's more like working capital finance, which is met by the day-to-day operations, and there is an EBITDA margin, PAT margin, and it's a running company. If today, you know, for example, this is bottle maker, the bottles are already being made. It's just a financing. But when I'm giving a builder money, I'm relying on the sales of a future project. come in. And the risk. So when I'm lending money to a builder for a project, I am relying on his execution skills of the future project and the sales, and therefore the risk is higher. If today, for example, let's say even a smaller, Godrej were to borrow money, they already have soaps that are selling. I know whether I give money or not, soaps are being sold. There is a running income. What he does with the money, my money will still come. And the risk is lower. But when I'm giving a builder money, he's executing the project. The project will come up over years, how he sells. Approvals are a real issue in Bombay till a few years back. They were delayed. TDR is not being loaded. So all these are the risks that we have to price in. And there have been delays which we have had to sit down and resolve. Ratings are not there. SPV nature is there. All these combined have forced us to give a higher price to offset the losses that we do incur, which are not there in traditional manufacturing businesses that we lend to. So as and when the builder grows, we find like, Godrej, Oberoi's, Lodha's, or whatever you name who are there in the organized sector, their risk ratings start to come down. As and when you become AA, A minus, A, and we lend to them at cheaper rates too, because the risks are lower. It also depends, like, if you give me a coverage of 100 crores on sales on 10 crores and some has already been sold, the sales would be, the rate of interest would be lower. It's a combination of factors.
I think Dushyant has very well covered all the aspects, and I believe that in the manufacturing sector, a lot of risks are past us because the projects are up, machineries are in place, supply lines, demand lines, margins, establishment, everything is known. They are also rated. One of the things that we always encourage all our developer partners to have is start going formal, have a rating in place. At least that should help you achieve a slightly lower cost of funds than what you're enjoying today. But if I take a show of hands, very few developers even go for their rating. At least that will help them pull down their cost of funds eventually.
I think one more question which I would like to ask is, RBI has put real estate sector in a low priority or a negative sector. So the institutions need to do lot of provisioning and capital weightage for lending to real estate. So don't you think that either the real estate lobby need to liaise with RBI to remove real estate from the low priority sector, because there are more than 250 industries dependent directly or indirectly on real estate. If that is done, then probably the rate of interest can come down over a period of time.
Bhavin, I'll probably try and answer that. This is not because real estate is a bad sector. Okay, I think the impression is that in real estate there are all kinds of elements and more dishonest people than honest people. Actually, the biggest problem in real estate is it's fragmented. Just in Borivali, I think there will be more than 100 developers, right? We are not even counting all India developers. In Gujarat, as an example, there are more developers than projects under RERA. That means developer 6,000 or project 600. That's the number of developers in Gujarat, right? So the problem is you're so fragmented कि कोई बहुत बड़ा नहीं है. Today the largest is between Godrej, Lodha's on the listed space are 60,000-70,000. One borrower in steel industry will be borrowing more than that, right? Likewise airlines, likewise something else. So in manufacturing you have very few people producing mass products. In real estate you have very, very small developers, mid-size, very small, single project companies. And that's the reason why risk weightage is high, right? So that's where RBI's perspective is. They don't care. If you become consolidated, they will also give you the same benefit. With that, I love for the audience to ask a few questions.
We've received 3. Thank you very much. It was a lovely session, and the floor is now open for Q&A. We've received 3 questions so far. I'll shoot the questions and you can decide who will answer it. What is the solution when a developer takes funding but he fails to sell his inventory?
Developer should answer it.
So, as a developer, our first priority is to sell the inventory. It is never the other way around. If I am selling today, I will sell and repay the loan because I want to do the another project. If you are not selling the inventory, that is not the right strategy. Selling of inventory is key parameter for all the projects. Your project gets successfully completed, your suppliers are happy, your borrower is happy, your customer is happy. If project is not getting sold, the customer is also doubtful why it is not getting sold. So selling would be always my first priority. There is no doubt on that.
Yeah.
Can I just add here, and this is the exact point to Bhavin saying, why is the real estate cost so high? If I was manufacturing shirts, first I'll sell it to retailers who will then onward retail it. अगर उनके यहाँ नहीं बिका तो वो सेल पे लगाते हैं, वहाँ पे भी सेल नहीं हुआ तो क्लियरेंस सेल लगती है, बट शर्ट बिकती है, राइट, एट सम प्राइस 2000, 1500, 500, राइट, यू वुड क्लियर योर सेल. डेवलपर्स डोंट डू इट. वो बैठ जाते हैं कि हमको बेचना ही नहीं है, इसके नीचे नहीं बेचूंगा. देयर इज नो कॉस्ट ऑफ सेल. सो आई थिंक this is a big lesson. If you can demonstrate that you will not sit on ready inventory, I think the banks will start respecting you more.
Just an illustration, many developers are hesitant to reduce prices. They think, this is going to have an impact. ऐसा नहीं होता है. So I met a very large developer in Pune just post demonetization, and seeing the market conditions then, he reduced his price by 200-250 rupees a square feet. And other developers came and told him, why are you reducing prices? Why are you reducing prices? And he told me, he told the other developers only one thing. If I get into a problem tomorrow, will you help me? Obviously the answer was no. He said, then leave me to my economics. So I don't think it's that big an issue of, and there should be, yes, some system of inventory clearance that takes place from time to time. That's the thing.
I think the question was कि मैंने फंडिंग लेने के बाद अगर माल नहीं बिका तो मेरे को क्या करना है. तो इसके अंदर what happens is in such kind of situation बहुत बार ऐसा होता है कि मान लो स्लो सेल्स होता है. फॉर एग्जांपल जीएसटी इंट्रोड्यूस हो गया तो कस्टमर सोचता है कि मेरा प्रोजेक्ट कंप्लीट हो जाएगा तो मेरा 12% जीएसटी बच जाएगा. तो अगर मेरा 12% बच जाएगा तो मैं ओसी के बाद ही लेता हूं, मैं अंडर कंस्ट्रक्शन में नहीं लेता हूं. ओसी तो 3 महीने में आ जाएगा, 6 महीने में आ जाएगा. इन सच काइंड ऑफ सिनेरियो आई थिंक द डेवलपर नीड्स टू सिट विद द लेंडर एंड रिक्वेस्ट कि मेरे को फर्दर टॉपअप मिल सकता है क्या, मेरे को एडिशनल फंडिंग मिल सकता है क्या, सो दैट आई कैन कंप्लीट द प्रोजेक्ट एंड आई डोंट गो इनटू स्ट्रेस.
If Shobit, if I may add, adding to what you said, कि अगर माल बन जाएगा तो मुंबई शहर में 100% बिक जाएगा. तो अगर आपके पास फंडिंग है तो यू विल बी एबल टू कंस्ट्रक्ट. हो सकता है शुरू में नहीं बिके, ऑल्दो लेंड करने से पहले वो लोग भी वैलिडेट करेंगे कि आपका माल सेलेबल है या नहीं है. तो एक श्योरिटी, एक वैलिडेशन आपको लेंडर से भी मिलेगा. बट फॉर एनी रीज़न अगर नहीं बिकता है, एज भाविक मेंशन दैट अगर आप लेंडर के साथ बैठोगे, मोस्ट ऑफ द लेंडर्स अंडरस्टैंड बिजनेस वेरी वेल, एंड इफ दे गिव यू अ टॉपअप और आप बिल्डिंग कंप्लीट कर दोगे तो ग्रीष्मा 100% माल बिक जाएगा.
As a developer, I would like to add one thing, if I can, with the permission of the panel. जैसे फंडिंग टाइप करते हैं ना, वैसे चैनल पार्टनर टाइप भी स्टार्टिंग में ही करना चाहिए. Am I right? Then there is no question of product not being able to sell. Right? We have a next question. Does the funding institutions plan to fund self-redevelopment projects?
I'll leave Vaibhav to answer. He answered a very nice way today, privately speaking with me, and he speaks for me also in this.
We are in a real estate developer forum, I have been an active advocate of discouraging self-redevelopment. I think development of any building is a very, very specialized job. It requires multiple skill sets. It requires skill sets for getting the permissions, designing the product, executing it. Making it a finished product requires multiple agencies to be involved and then deliver. I don't think so that the existing society, which is but a bunch of random people who incidentally happen to have bought houses in the same building, have that acumen to all come and get onto one platform, have one thought process, agree on one design, and then end up executing it perfectly. If they have been some success stories, trust me, God has been really kind to them and they have been really, really lucky. They should all go to the temples that they patronize and thank the Lord that no mishap happened. What is the ability of any society to manage a stressful situation? Tell me, will you buy material from any agency where you can't identify the owner or don't know the office? If we can't buy material which is ready, how will somebody who wants to buy a house go to a nameless society and buy a house from them and have the same surety कि ये timely deliver हो जाएगा? I don't think so. I think development is a very specialized job, and we have enough and more people who have excellent histories of delivering projects, not only redevelopment projects but also SRA projects or projects on freehold land, and they should be engaged to do this specialized job.
Thank you. So the answer is no. Nobody is funding self-redevelopment.
Yeah. There's one more question about FDI. Is it viable in construction industry?
Yeah, I mean, we just earlier this week, one of his group companies, Tata's, announced a JV with CPPIB. Now, nobody in this room can say that Tata's doesn't have the money, right? They have enough and more capital, but they have chosen to partner up with a sovereign to say this particular company of ours needs more capital to grow to meet our ambition, right? So at some point your ambitions are running faster than you yourself, right? And at that point you do need large sums of capital, and that large sum of capital is not, unfortunately, not available with domestic players. Domestic fund का size 600-700 करोड़ होता है, बहुत बड़ा हुआ तो 1200 करोड़. The single check written by CPPIB on this is 3,000 crores.
Could you just give
Right.
me the full form of CPBI?
It is the Sovereign Fund of Canada, right? So it's a Canadian pension fund. But even companies as big as Tata's can at some point need external equity, like I said, to meet their growth ambition. That means you want to grow 5 times, 6 times, 8 times. आप अपने साथ कितने projects कर सकते हो? I think Vishal here said कि मैंने एक project किया, फिर 2 किए, 3 किए, 4 किए. Then I ran out of money. फिर मैं Edelweiss के पास गया. That's exactly the story he narrated. Today, if I give him 1,000 crores, he'll probably be sitting on a different dais saying, look, I'm a 5,000 crore company or I'm a 10,000 crore company. So to meet your growth, you need external capital.
Thank you very much. We've had a lovely session
And
today.
I wanted to add here, the Tata and the CPPI deal, I think Shobit was the key instrumental person to conclude the deal for Tata as a whole. So we have to give, thank you.
That is why he is here.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. You've been a lovely panel and the moderation as well. The audience was very kind enough to patiently hear and shoot the questions to the panels. We have a guest here. I would just like to
No.
Namaste ji. I welcome our MLA Shri Yogesh Sagar ji. Thank you very much for coming. It is our pleasure to have you here, sir. I would like Mr. Harish Jain to just say a few words, and sir, we would be happy to hear from you as well. We will call Mr. Gurminder ji to felicitate our panels. Please come over the stage.
TNH. France. Remix by DJ.
Appreciation. We will not say that we will plant on your behalf. We want you to plant it with a smile on your face and water it every day.
Remix by DJ.
पौधा जो हम डेवलपर ने आपको दिया हुआ है, इसमें आपको रोज़ थोड़ा थोड़ा फंडिंग का पानी डालना है।